Hi guys, and welcome back to the last video in our Halloween series, Spooky Makeup 101. I'm Erica, and this week I'll be teaching you guys how to take all of our tips and tricks that we've learned before and make them into a Halloween look. Now before we begin, this video may be graphic for some, so feel free to click off this video at any time. Some of the products that we will need is liquid latex, some scar and nose wax, instant coffee, and then any type of water activated makeup. To begin, I am going to start applying liquid latex to this side of my face using a makeup sponge. Now we are gonna make another burn, so I'm just going to lightly apply the liquid latex onto my skin. And I am gonna go up. I'm gonna also show you a little new of a technique on how to create blisters in the skin using just liquid latex. So I'm just gonna apply some to the area. Also, taking the same sponge that I used for the liquid latex, I'm going to dip it in some instant coffee to give us texture for the burn. And then I'm gonna go ahead and dip it right back into the liquid latex and apply another layer over that. And I'm just gonna keep switching on and off between our liquid latex and our instant coffee. And just keep dabbing. All right, taking a clean makeup sponge, I'm gonna go back in to our liquid latex and just bring it up just a little bit more around the eye. Okay, and then I'm gonna apply one more layer of our coffee and latex. And once you're happy with that, we'll go ahead and let this dry. Just gonna cover it to seal it. All right, while I let that dry, I am going to work on a cut on my nose. So I took some of our scar wax, rolled it into a ball, so now I'm going to roll it out like a snake. All right, and I am going to apply that across the bridge of the nose down onto my cheek. I'm gonna grab a little Vaseline on my finger so I can get it to stick to the skin and not my hand. Oop. And we had a little bit fall off, that's okay. All right, and we're getting it to stick. I'm just blending those edges out. All right, I'm gonna grab just a little bit more of our scar wax. Move that up just a little bit onto this cheek. And I'm gonna roll that into a snake again and connect it to the piece that fell. I'm just gonna put that underneath this eye. Now I'm going to take our metal tool with a little bit of Vaseline on it, and I'm going to blend out our edges even more. Trying to get it as smooth as possible. Gonna cut away a little bit that's in the corner of my eye and add it over here. Smooth it out up in the eye area and on the bridge of my nose. Okay, so once we're happy with our edges and the smoothness of our scar wax, I'm going to take the sharp pointy side and I'm going to cut into what we applied, kind of breaking away the edges a little bit to open it up. And bringing it down, opening the edges as I go. I'm gonna hold as I tear part of the cheek. All right. All right, if you feel like it's sticking to the tool you're using, feel free to get just a little bit more Vaseline and that'll help. All right, and it looks like it'll end right there. So I'm just gonna wipe my hands off a little bit. And I'm just gonna, with my fingers, kind of close up that hole. All right, so now going back to our liquid latex, it is pretty much dry. So up here in the areas that we don't have any of our coffee mixture to create a burn, I'm just going to take the little pointy side of my spatula and I'm just going to break through, creating little holes and tears in the skin. Sometimes if you have scissors, that'll help too, but usually you can just kind of pick with your hands. So there's one. I'm gonna do one just a little bit right here where the burn starts to end. I'm just gonna pick that till there's a hole in it and then work with that. Gonna try to make another one right here. There we go. All right, and that one's a little bit more closed and that is okay. So now once everything is dried, I am going to go in with our water activated paints and start painting. So I'm gonna start by making the bruises. Since my character has a little bit of a color of green in the skin, I'm going to use more of greens and reds and purples in this look, and even a little bit of yellow. So taking the sponge, kind of like what we did for the bruise video, I picked it apart. I'm gonna first go in with the yellow around the cut. And then go in with the green. That way it kind of looks a little bit more sickly. Now when creating your character's look, you get to pick your color scheme, or if you're going to try to recreate something that's already there, then you can kind of play off that and then kind of do whatever you are feeling. Now I'm gonna go in with a purplish bruised color and just kind of break up that grain. putting a little bit under my eyes, because if you have a gash on your nose, you are definitely going to be bruised. All right, going in with a little bit more of a red right on the cut opening, maybe even a little brown. Now going over to our bruised area, I'm gonna take much more of a green, or a burned area, I should say, a green, and start working on our little holes that we popped in, and then going down, getting more of a red and a brown together and putting that on top. Adding a little bit green in there too. And two, if you feel like your sponge is getting a little too muddy with the colors, feel free to get a new one. All right, going in on top with the green and around the edges. And just blending out those colors. Gonna add a little bit more red onto our burn, just to give it a little bit of depth. And a little bit of green right here, but it's getting just a little too red. Now I do have a little bit of a harsh line right here, so I'm just gonna take a lightly dampened sponge and blend that out. And right here, where my latex isn't really taking some of the color, I'm going to rip open a little hole and kind of work that in. That way we can blend a little easier. And I'm gonna put some green over top of that. Kind of go up on my eyebrow a little bit too. All right. I want to add a little bit more green around this area especially. Okay, and then I am going to go in with a lighter color, kind of almost like a tealy, with a dampened toothbrush. And I'm going to rub that into the makeup, and then I'm just gonna splatter it a little bit. And I'm also gonna go in with a black color and do that same thing. All right. And this helps to give it more dimension without having such a harshness on the color. And if you get it too concentrated, like I did on my nose, I'm just gonna blend that out. Gonna go in with a little bit of a white to kind of lighten it up there. A white with some green, so it's a little bit lighter. And once I'm happy with that, I'm now going to add fake blood. So I'm going to take some scab blood with the sharp point of our spatula that I'm using, and I'm going to kind of put it in our nose wound. I'm going to drip a little bit out of our nose to kind of give it a little bit more of a dimension. And into our little craters that we created, I'm going to kind of spoon that around in there. Two, I like to put it under our liquid latex. That way it gives a little bit more color underneath of it. So we also have one right here that I'm going to do. And I kind of feel like it got a little muddy around this area. So I'm just gonna go in with some white paint, and I'm just going to splatter it lightly just to kind of break it up. All right, and I'm gonna take just a dried makeup sponge and kind of blot it. All right. Gonna go back in with a little bit of green. I'm being picky now about it, just to kind of bruise up that a little bit more, and maybe even a little red. There we go. That is the completed look. Thank you for joining me for this Halloween series this season, and I hope everyone has a safe and fun Halloween.